Okay, so our portion of the presentation is over the criminal aspects of healthcare, preventing abuse one patient at a time. My name is Kimberly Reeder, and
And I'm Heather Block.
So a little bit of background to begin with. We're going to talk about criminal law. This is a body of law that deals with crime and the legal punishment of criminal offenses. The purpose of criminal law is actually to maintain public order and safety, protect individuals, use punishment as a deterrent to crime, and rehabilitate the criminal for a return to society. Some criminal trials actually involve healthcare professionals and organizations. These trials include healthcare fraud, kickback, patient abuse, and criminal negligence. So our first topic today is going to be about healthcare fraud. This is an involvement of an unlawful act, generally deception for personal gain. It encompasses an array of irregularities and illegal acts characterized by intentional deception. Healthcare fraud impacts the healthcare system because it is a major financial drain. So to continue on with that, in order to prevent healthcare fraud, we at Coyote Clinics must take the following precautions/steps. So we're going to develop policies and procedures, appoint a compliance officer, communicate the organization's compliance program to employees, establish monitoring and auditing systems for detecting fraud, publicize steps for reporting criminal conduct, address criminal conduct when detected, periodically review and update the compliance program, work with state and federal enforcement agencies, regulatory agencies, and insurance companies to prevent, detect, and prosecute fraud. So topic 2 is about kickbacks. So the Medicare and Medicaid program, Patient Protection Act of 1987, provides for criminal penalties for certain acts impacting Medicare and state healthcare reimbursement services. The anti-kickback salute provides certain solicitations or receipt of remuneration. The salute penalizes anyone who knowingly and willfully solicitates, receives, offers, or pays anything of value as an inducement for referring an individual to a person for the furnishing or arranging of the furnishing of any item or service payable under the Medicare or Medicaid programs, and purchasing, leasing, or ordering or arranging for or recommending purchasing, leasing, or ordering any good, facility, service, or item payable under the Medicare or Medicaid programs. So in healthcare, there are a few common kickbacks, and these include laboratory kickbacks, architectural contract kickbacks, and ambulance service kickbacks. Topic 3 is going to be about patient abuse. Patient abuse is actually the mistreatment or neglect of individuals who are under the care of a healthcare organization. So a few forms would be physical, psychological, medical, and financial. In order to help stop and prevent patient abuse, Coyote Clinics could install cameras and/or ask every patient a set of questions relating to their care on a frequent basis. Our clinics could also watch for signs of patient abuse, which can include time-limited orders for restraints, a restrained number of patients, physical and/or medicational restraints being used, whether or not restraints are being applied correctly, checking on the medical and physical condition of restrained patients, making sure that restraints are periodically released as required by law. And topic 4 is about criminal negligence. Criminal negligence is actually the reckless disregard for the safety of others and the willful indifference to an injury that could follow an act. At Coyote Clinics, we would remind every employee that the responsibility that they have to serve as advocates for all patients. We will also make sure that our staff members are trained properly, know how to exercise proper judgment regarding admission procedures, and know how to provide adequate services and supplies to patients. And now we're going to talk about quality assurance. At Coyote Clinics, we expect our professionals to monitor the quality of each patient's care, beginning with the history and physical, through the development of the treatment plan, and ultimately to the delivery of care to the patient. After every visit, we will send out a brief private survey that should take a patient less than 3 minutes to complete. This survey will help to improve the quality of care that we provide to our patients, their families, friends, neighbors, and community. We will also make sure that the Quality Improvement Council continues to assess and improve the care for patients. So a few implications that we plan to do. We plan to use the precaution steps to prevent healthcare fraud, such as learning about Medicare's coverage rules, protecting patient medical information, and protecting patient Medicare numbers. We will train our staff so that they have knowledge of the anti-kickback salute and the different types of kickbacks. We will monitor our employees and frequently check on patients to make sure that they receive quality care and are not abused in order to prevent provider apathy. We will also train all employees so that they know about criminal negligence and the consequences of committing it.
Next, we have a case study which will display some of the things that we've talked about earlier when referring to healthcare and criminal law. So the procedures for this case, the defendant is Christopher Knaffen, the plaintiff is the state of Wisconsin, and the criminal complaint was filed in Dane County Circuit Court. This is an ongoing case, therefore there have been no appeals of this case. So the facts of this case are defendant Christopher was working as a registered nurse at Unity Point Health Meriter Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. He worked there for more than 14 years, specifically in the NICU unit, which cares for infants after their birth, and he often worked the night shift. Madison police were called to the hospital on February 9th to investigate 2 possible child abuse cases that involved very similar arm injuries. Both of these children had been under his care, and therefore an investigation of his past care was ordered. This investigation revealed that 9 infants suffered abuse, including bruising, broken arms, a skull fracture, and permanent scarring from improperly inserted IVs. The victims were all born at Meriter Hospital between March 2017 and February 2018, with the first incident occurring on April 1st of 2017. The nurse had not admitted to any wrongdoings, but has agreed to not engage in professional nursing during the investigation, and there is no clear indication for why he would have committed these crimes. Other nurses at the hospital say that he often ignored patient alarms, conducted care exams behind closed doors, and one nurse told reporters that he was happy to work with infants, quote, because he would not have to deal with the patients talking back to him, quote. Some issues with this case being litigated by the court are several counts of child neglect, intentional child abuse, negligence, and patient abuse, which have caused great bodily harm to several infants. Criminal negligence is defined as the reckless disregard for the safety of others. Patient abuse is the mistreatment or neglect of individuals who are under the care of a healthcare organization. In this case, the patients were infants who obviously could not tell others what they were experiencing. Even so, the victims had physical signs of abuse, such as bruising and broken bones. The holding of this case was that the judge ordered the defendant to have no contact with the victims or their families, and he is not allowed in the Meriter Hospital where he was previously employed. The judge also set a bond for the defendant for $500 per case, and because there's 19 counts of abuse, this adds up to a bond of $9,500. The Wisconsin Board of Nursing has suspended the defendant's license on March 19th until final decision is issued, and the hospital where he was previously employed has disabled his badge and suspended him from access to the hospital, and he will be required to stand on trial. The implications of this case as spoken by Jessica Caston, who is a spokeswoman for the Meriter Hospital, said that as a result of this case, the hospital has worked to install video monitoring in the NICU patient rooms, updated procedures for reporting abuse, and improving monitoring of patient trends. The hospital itself received a citation from Medicare when the federal inspection found that it didn't respond appropriately when an infant was discovered bruised in April 2017, and were told that the government may cancel Meritor's Medicare contracts. Further inspections in June found that the hospital was in compliance with Medicare rules. This is a good example to other healthcare facilities that there are serious consequences if they do not comply with Medicare's required standard of care and that changes can be made to improve the quality of care. If the case would have been decided differently, the standard of care that Medicare requires would have declined, impacting many patients and their care. And here are some references. Thank you for listening.